Alright fellas, so this video is about how you can get approval for your rental application. Personally, this was a big hurdle for me when I just moved to the United States. I remember we applied for a couple of properties and got denied. Also applied for a couple of credit cards, got denied. Now, this video is technically about the rentals, but it also could be applicable to the bank applications, credit card applications. Now, obviously, the main criteria I would say is to have the high credit score. If you have a high credit score, if you don't have eviction on your record, or any serious crime, then pretty much your chances of approval are okay. If you're self-employed, you just need to bring some kind of paper showing that you're making money. Normally it's 2.5 times the rent. If you are working for someone, then I would say your chances are much limited because there's a certain salary. You either have to do Uber or, have some kind of side hustle, because most of the time, especially in a place like Southern California, the salary average person would get would not be enough to be a 2.5 times of the rent. So average rent is somewhere around 2,000. And for qualifying for those type of rentals, you have to, I'm not talking about luxury property, it's just, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom type of stuff. You would have to show papers showing that you're making somewhere around 5,000. And people who apply for those type of properties normally is single guys, single ladies, maybe, just married, 2 people. Very hard to show that they are making, especially if they're planning to have a kid. Technically, the lady would not be working, the guy would be the only working guy, and then it will be really hard to get qualification. But there are ways to work around it. And there are some options. If you have a crap credit score, you are not qualified by the way that, so the ways to work around it are to get someone to sign for you. Most of the time it could be your parents. I had done lots of the time when I was renting to the students, had the parents sign for them. Have someone sign for you. For instance, it could be your friends also. It could be your brother, it could be your sister, cousin, relatives, friends, family. Way number 2 is just to pay more in deposits. I know lots of properties that would see you not qualifying and then they would just wanna probably 1 more month of the rent. Thankfully, California just passed a law that landlords are not allowed to charge in deposit more than 1 month. It's really, problem starts with the application of the law. One thing is just to have the law, and then another thing is to have it applied. What would you say if the landlord would not want 2 months, instead they would want the first and last month? So it's really gray area, but that's one of the ways. Another way I would say is to find the listings that have been on the market for a while. They're like, if you go to the Zillow or Redfin, in any market you will see gazillions listings that have been listed for like a 2 months, 3 months. Those guys are desperate most of the time. They're really interested in renting out that property because while it's not rented, it's a liability. When it's rented, it turns into asset. Those guys would try to give you another chance, to try to qualify you by different ways.
Thank you for watching, and I would like to mention that this video is sponsored by my company. We help landlords to maximize their rental income. Normally, we take the property, say it's been rented for $3,000. We'll help landlord to make about $5,000 and charge about 10% from the profits. This is what we do. If you guys interested, if you're a landlord and looking for that company that would help you with getting more rent, just letting you guys know, I'm also a realtor in California. Any part of California you're looking for real estate, property for yourself, live with a family, or for investment, I'm your guy. Feel free to hit me up in the DM.
Another way is just to rent from your family, friends, from the people. Personally, I try to rent from the companies when I have a corporate rentals, when I have people who want to stay and they do not qualify or they don't have a time for application. I just rent for them certain companies like Invitation Homes, and then we'll put the people in that houses. I'll help them with the qualification of a certain overcharge a certain amount on the rent, but we also cover the utilities, we put the furnishing. So this is one of the business models called the arbitrage model. But yeah, that's what I do personally, and I think that everybody who have a hard time qualifying, they would probably have an easier time qualifying with the companies because they have a certain process. When you're dealing a landlord that has a one house, mom and pop style, they would want to know all your history. And if you're just starting employment, they would be a little suspicious about that. There are gazillions reasons why person might deny you an application, but the company would go by the book. If there is no certain reason for denying the application, they would never deny it. Also, it helps sometimes to get a referral letter, especially if you're renting from a person, maybe your old landlord or the person you're working for. That really helps. Make sure to dress professionally, have a good job, have a personal touch if you're renting from the person. Go meet him, introduce yourself. Most of the time you would see the realtor first, but initially you would get to see the landlord. So ask the realtor if you can see the landlord. What to do if you're not approved. So actually there's not much you can do about it. I would personally start another application. Now, there is a very interesting trick I'll teach you guys here. Do not let them to serve, first of all, hard inquiries. Secondly, try to apply, if it doesn't matter if it's a house or if it's a bank, in this timing of 1 month. So say you started from the first, try to send all your application till thirds, because until the next month will come, there will be no change on your credit history. But if you apply for a certain property in first month and the second month you apply for the second property, they can see that you were denied for the first property or first bank card or credit card on the second month already. Since the credit reports comes month from to other months, it will be visible. Now, personally, I advise to be honest. Honesty is the greatest trick that you can use in any type of business. Applications are not an exception. I think that if you would be honest, say you're not making enough money and you're talking to the person. Well, companies is a different story because you would not get to see owner. Obviously, most of the time it's just not one person, it's a publicly owned company. But if you're renting from a certain person, you can just go and talk to him, tell him, hey, my credit might not be good, I might be young, I might be getting this job just about 2 months ago, but I promise you, I grew up here and here. I'm this kind of guy. Now, not a drug addict. I'm not a problematic person. I'm going to pay on time. You got my word. Many times people would try to cooperate with you. Now, I had a situation where I had a very deeply religious lady. By the way, she was a realtor, and she just stopped paying rent. It happened to me. And until we started the process of eviction, she pretty much lived in the property for 2 months. And then if you know how the laws work in California, pretty much your hands are locked. You cannot do anything. You have to hire a lawyer who will start an eviction. Never try to evict the tenant yourself because it's going to be a waste of time. And once tenant is evicted, it's pretty much becoming impossible for them to rent the house again, because everybody will see the eviction on their record. If they're a smart person, they would just move out. Or you can just negotiate cash for keys. So this is advice for the investors. For tenants, if you guys really have a hard time renting certain property, just don't rent it. Why are you renting it? I have a video about where you can live. I personally prefer to live with my parents instead of having a hard time paying rent. Why would you want to be separate when you technically cannot allow to yourself? So I personally believe that you have to, we have a saying, pretty much goes like this: you have to get a blanket according to your height. So if you're really short, you don't really need a big blanket, or if you're tall, you cannot use a smaller blanket. So I would always advise to first think about your situation. If you're getting a $2,000 month rentals and you're making $3,000 a month, that's not a good idea. At least I would say make 2 times of what your rentals are, because there are 1,000 other costs. And if you're not able to keep some money on the side, I would just go for the smaller property, probably a studio, or maybe getting a shared housing, or maybe getting a shared room. I personally lived with roommates about 10 years when I was in Ukraine in a hostel. It was an interesting experience. You learn lots of stuff about yourself, about other people, about how society works. There's always lessons in different kinds of situations. If you guys find this video helpful, please do not forget to subscribe and put your like.